As you all know, I am an author, so I have a bit of an insight when it comes to writing antagonists and villains, and all of mine are human based. But the other day I woke up with such a hangover that I'm pretty sure that my liver farted, and it got me thinking, what is it that makes the Predator such an intriguing and well written villain? So we're going to be diving straight into this and also into the map right now to talk about the Predator, particularly in the first movie. And you will need to have watched Predator to understand what makes the Predator itself such a great villain. It's not just the fact that this thing can turn invisible, it's not that it's more stronger, more powerful, doesn't obey the rules of usual warfare, particularly in the first movie. And it's also the fact, it can skin you alive if it wants to. It knows how to dissect the human body and keep certain parts as trophies. These are all interesting things in the horror element, but when you're writing a well-constructed villain, there is something you need to have within its personality, and that Predator itself is an alien creature, but it has such a strong personality and motive that this is what makes it more terrifying. So we're going to cut straight back to the end, well, not the end of the shootout scene in the first movie, that iconic scene just after Blaine gets hit by the shoulder cannon. And Mac comes along and just starts spraying into the jungle after he sees the Predator's eyes, because obviously the Predator was cloaked at the time, and he just sees these flash of the Predator eyes, and he starts laying into it with his own LMG. When that runs out of ammo, he picks up the minigun. The rest of the crew come along and they're just shooting into the jungle because they don't know what it is, they don't know they're up against this, they're just firing away. And you find out a few minutes later that the Predator did get hit. And it cuts to this scene of the Predator having to remove a bullet from its leg. It goes through this whole self-medical procedure of removing this bullet. And once it eventually does, it grabs its leg in pain and it screams out. And it does this wicked little shot straight back to the crew and looking on Arnold Schwarzenegger's face as this scream just rips through the jungle. And you're like, holy shit, this thing is out there. And it's pissed off because it's wounded. But how this works is that you then realise that this thing is not indestructible. This thing is only one bullet away from losing, and it's very aware of that. It's very aware of that, and it's going to come back after you anyway, because this thing's motive, unlike some of the other horror villains out there, let's take the Xenomorph for example, my favourite of all time. That thing has no concept of conscious or morals. Its only goal is to reproduce and, protect the survival of the hive. If you take on maybe some other antagonists and villains, creatures from out there, Jigsaw, his whole thing was why he does what he does to people was to teach them the better ways of life, to make them appreciate their life. Freddy Krueger was a murdered, vengeful spirit who come back to kill the children of the people who burned him alive because he was a raging nonce. All of these other characters have their personality quirks of why they do it, but the Predator, even though it knows it can die and it knows you have firepower, will come back after you just to prove it's the better killer. And that is what makes the Predator so fucking terrifying, because after you've seen this scene of where it removes a bullet through its leg, it's in pain, it has to heal itself, and it's going to come back anyway because it wants to prove it's the better fighter than you. And the way they work this down with other nuances throughout the film is obviously we all love the fact that the Predator won't kill anyone who's unarmed. It won't kill anyone who's unarmed, and it won't kill, also featured in Predator 2, it won't kill pregnant women. There is an honour code to this creature's lifestyle, this creature's sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just history in general. Culture? I don't know, fucking you tell me. So I'm a bit hungover still, and my liver's just fired again. But when you have this creature that is more powerful than you, even though you outnumber it and it has all of these technological advances over you, its one and only goal, knowing it can die, is to prove it's the better fighter. It's almost on par with the same sort of relentlessness as like the Terminator. The Terminator has a goal and it'll keep on coming, but the Terminator has no fear of death. The Predator has no fear of death, but it knows it can die, and it feels pain, it can be wounded, it can be killed. So when you have something like that, and you also break it down in Predator when they have that scene where they try and capture it, because they figure out that this thing doesn't obey the, it's using the trees, it doesn't obey the forms of warfare that they're used to. So they try and capture it with nets and stuff, which is another outstanding little just thing to give the Predator a bit more personality, because the Predator gets caught by a net. That kind of technology is so low tech that the Predator can't understand it. And when it does get caught in a net and it starts shooting wildly to try and free itself, to get itself out, it has this brief moment where it hangs onto a tree and accidentally uncloaks itself. But you can see the thought process in his eyes. He could have fired a shot like them and killed them, but he's looking at them as if to say, I don't know what the fuck that net was. I don't know what that is, but I've got to up my game because they've just upped their game. You can see, even if it's when it's wearing its mask, it still has a thought process of like, okay, that was impressive, I'm going to come back again. And this also breaks down to the final fight between Arnold and the Predator itself, when the Predator is ducking under this log that's got some spikes in it, and you can see its eyes looking, it sees the spikes, then looks back at Arnie, then looks back at the spikes and is like, yeah, you're just fucking with me, this is another trap, you're not going to win this way. And yeah, so the Predator has probably a lot more character, even though it doesn't speak, a lot more character, a lot more thought process into its motive, and also a learning capacity as well, which again makes it so fucking terrifying, because the more you learn about it, the more you have an advantage, which means it in itself has to learn as well, and will find other ways to kill you. And they've adapted this in some of the other movies as well. Prey, that Predator was pretty good because it had a bit of a backstory to it as well, because it's like one of the first ones on the planet. You can tell by the way it's hunting it. It kills a snake at first, and then it kills a wolf, and eventually works its way up the chain to a bear. And then it realizes that humans might not be as strong, but they're more of a cultured capability that involve tactics. So that's when it identifies the human as the main target, or at least as the dominant species on this planet, which makes it the main target. But when it comes to sort of writing your villain, particularly when it's like something like the Predator, having that goal and having that drive, and also the fear, well, not even fear, but the fact that it knows it can die. You could correlate this to the fact that at the end of Predator 2, when Danny Glover finally kills a Predator and the other Predators show up, and you're like, oh shit. And then the Predator hands Danny Glover the gun, saying, holy shit, you killed one of us. You're an impressive human being. It just makes it more terrifying knowing that this thing just has one drive. It knows it can die, but it wants to beat you just to prove it's better than you. But you see here, yeah, we won 2 matches. If you enjoyed the footage, let me know. If you're writing your own villain, let me know. Please subscribe, please leave a cheeky like. Yeah, I'm having fun doing these Warzone ramblings. They're getting better since Shane's back. Take care, guys. Love you as always. Blah, 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 blah.